Oh, here goes, and welcome to the 152nd episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V is in the house. Please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcasts. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton.
What's up, brother? I'm looking forward to this today. I had a bit of a crap day at work, so looking forward to kick it with you and talk about another big week in basketball.
For sure, man. Well, that was the daytime. We're kicking it in the evening now, talking hoops. So hopefully we can cheer you up, right?
Hopefully you can cheer me up. That hat you're wearing is not doing like wonders for that so far, but I know the Kings are on tonight, so I'll let that go.
Yeah, your Wildcats are on tonight as well.
Yes, big night, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So let's get into it, man. Why don't you start us off with your jersey for the week?
Sweet as. So yeah, I'll stand up and show you a jersey of a guy who's had an amazing career, maybe a little bit forgotten about now. And yeah, Woods loving these Adidas jerseys. You'll see when I stand up, it's the the stitch sort of old school Adidas jerseys. I'm thinking I'm liking them more than the Nike ones these days. So I'll just stand up and give you a look at this one.
Thanks, Robbie. So for those who can't see, as Robbie alluded to, he's wearing the Detroit Pistons Adidas Mr. Big Shot Chauncey Billups jersey.
That classic Pistons one, right? Like, it's
Awesome.
funny. There's a lot of those traditional teams that haven't changed their jerseys much over the years, right? Lakers, Boston, Chicago, and Detroit come to mind. But there's probably a good reason. Firstly, they're successful, popular teams, but also they've got nice jerseys. So this color combos, it's nice. The number one's kind of a cool number and stuff like that. So yeah, I'll tell you a little bit about Mr. Billups there, Woods. So
Mr. Big Shot, you mean?
Well, I'll call him that as well, yeah. So, look, he played 17 seasons in the NBA after getting drafted out of Colorado, while the Celtics at pick 3 in the 97 draft. So, can you recall the two guys that went ahead of him in that draft there, Woods? The 97 NBA draft.
Ooh,
One absolute legend and one guy that's a little bit forgotten about. And if it was a redraft, certainly wouldn't have gone ahead of Billups.
97 Duncan. Was
Duncan,
that?
correct.
Yeah.
Who's the second one? Big white guy.
I know it. I'm just drawing a blank, man. Tell me.
Keith Van Horn.
Okay,
So
awesome.
a bit of a blast in the past. So he went
Had a great
nuts with
career
it.
as well.
Yeah, he was definitely a solid career. So yeah, Billups was traded 5 times in his career, which is pretty remarkable. Ended up playing with the Celtics, Raptors, Nuggets, T-Wolves, Pistons, Knicks, and Clippers. So he got around a little bit there. Last played in the 2014 season. So as you said, Woods, the man known as Mr. Big Shot, he had an outstanding career. His accolades include an NBA champ and Finals MVP in 2004, which will never be forgotten by the Pistons faithful there. He was a 3-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA, 5-time All-Star. Also made 2 All-Defensive teams, which maybe gets forgotten a little bit about there. He's had this jersey that I'm wearing retired by Detroit a few months ago, and he was also inducted into the Hall of Fame. So Billups is now 48. He was previously working as a studio analyst after retiring before turning to coaching, where he's the current coach of the Portland Trail Blazers. Now, Woods, let me ask firstly about what you thought of Mr. Big Shot's career. I know you're not a massive fan of his coaching, so speak a little bit on maybe his career and why you don't sort of love his coaching so much.
I was a massive fan of him as a player, right? His leadership was one thing that stood out, especially on that Detroit Pistons team. And I'll tell you what was really good for him, Larry Brown. Because before Larry Brown, he was bouncing around, was struggling to find a home. And then that Pistons team took him in. Larry Brown said, he's going to be my guy. And then a bunch of other guys, Rasheed Wallace, Tayshaun Prince, Rip Hamilton, all finding new homes there, joining Ben Wallace. And he was the spiritual leader of that team, right? That team went as far as he did. So I just really loved the fact that he could turn it on when he wanted to. He would just cruise throughout the game, but in that fourth quarter when it was his time and the big lights were shining, hence the nickname. So I really, really liked him as a player and as a leader.
Is there a but coming now?
As a coach, I just find that his ability to develop young talent leaves a lot to be desired. His rotations, the way he goes about things and the decisions he makes. Look, he's a rookie coach. He's only been doing it for a couple of years. But I don't think that Portland Trail Blazers team is the team that he needs him as the coach, right? I think maybe as an assistant, working under someone to learn the ropes first before being thrust into a head coaching role. might have been the way to go. It's very difficult
Maybe
for
lucked out not getting one of those Ty Lue or JJ Redick type jobs with more established veterans at a team there. I guess maybe he might have been more suited to that. But I think Portland's not going too bad in saying that. Like they're in a tough Western Conference. They've had some solid wins, given they always seem to have some injuries and stuff there. But no, I take your point there. But yeah, a little bit of a shout out to Mr. Big Shot there. As I said, really liking this jersey. It's fitting a lot better on me than that Oliver Miller one I had last week, which I probably won't be wearing again because it was way too tight. But this is a nice jersey. I'm liking this one. So apart from that hat that I'm not a big fan of there, why don't you show us who you're rocking today?
Oh, for sure. You'd love this one.
I think I know this one. It's a nice looking Memphis Grizzlies #1 Scottie Pippen Jr. jersey. It's about as random as they come. Woods, I like that one. I like this guy. I didn't like his father, but I do like the son there. So yeah, like a nice jersey as well, isn't it? Nice random one, but also nice colours on that one.
Yeah, love it, man. It was great. We'll talk about it. I was in Melbourne a few days ago, and I wore it to the game there, so I got a bit of love for it from the fans in Melbourne. But yeah, Scottie Pippen Jr. He was born in 2000. His game's a lot different from his father. He's a point guard. He plays for the Memphis Grizzlies at the moment, as you can see by the jersey I'm wearing. He played college basketball for Vanderbilt, and he's also the son of Larsa Pippen, the influencer or television personality, whatever you want to call her. Look, he had a pretty good college career before being undrafted and signing with the Los Angeles Lakers in 2022. Spent some time in the G League before getting a chance with the Memphis Grizzlies last year. The Memphis Grizzlies last year struggled with the injury bug. A lot of guys were out. They pretty much, gave up towards the back half of the season. We're really giving opportunity for some young guys on 10-day contracts and things like that. So that's when Scottie Pippen Jr. really got the opportunity and proved what he could do by averaging, I think, 13 odd points, 5 assists in 20 odd minutes a game at the end of last year. And this year with Ja Morant out, he got the chance to start, and he's shown that he's a solid NBA rotation player that's going to be in this league for many years, right?
Absolutely, I like his playmaking. That's sort of the thing that stands out for me. As you said, very different to his father. A lot shorter. Doesn't have those massive long arms, but plays a different position there. But I like him. I've got him in a couple of fantasy teams, so I've sort of paid a little bit more interest in him than as you do when you've got someone in your fantasy team. And I think it's all about opportunity for him. Anytime that Ja Morant's been out, he's got those minutes and put up solid numbers there. So, was there another Pippen son as well?
Yeah, there's another one. There's another one
coming through, maybe, right?
I think so. I've heard through the grapevine. Let me just check that for you. Yeah.
It just shows you I wasn't going to hold a grudge though, Woods. Just because this guy's last name's Pippen and Scottie Pippens is on, probably my all-time 5, most disliked players. I like Scottie Pippen Jr.
Yep, and Scottie Pippen Jr. also plays the passing lanes really well. He's got a great instinct defensively, and he's getting those steals as well. So, he's doing things that'll make the coaching staff keep him in the ball game, right? And I like the attitude he brings. That mentality he gets from his dad as well, though, right? So
yeah. For sure.
All right. Let's move on then. Card of the week, man. What do you got for us?
Yeah, nice. So, I sort of always like keeping it a bit different, Wood. So, the guy I'm going to talk about this week is a guy that actually is currently playing in the NBA, but he spent 4 seasons in the NBL. So, spending time with Cairns and Brisbane. In 2017, he was the Defensive Player of the Year and also All NBL second team with Brisbane. So, I know he's a guy you like. So, of course, I'm talking about Torey Craig. So this guy, he's now 34 years of age. He's gone on to become a perfect 3-and-D guy in the NBA. Currently playing with Chicago in his 8th NBA season. So another example of an undrafted player that so many teams missed out on. So we've got a nice autograph card of Torey Craig. So as I think I mentioned, Woods, I'm trying to get a signed card of pretty much any guy I can that's played in the NBL and then played in the NBA. So I thought that was a pretty cool card. This is a 2020-21 Panini card. It's interesting on the back. It says Craig is the kind of player every team hopes to have on its bench, and I think that's a pretty fair call there. He's carved out a pretty good career. I know you were a big fan of him in the NBL, but yeah, you're still enjoying his time in the NBL,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Great card, by the way. Good to have that NBL alumni, right?
Yeah.
And it's a great story because a lot of others followed suit. I've actually got his Bullets jersey somewhere here, Torey Craig's. Yeah. But I think it just shows that to make that transition to the NBA, it's not about putting up big numbers. It's about being able to serve a specific skill set which you can do really well at, right?
Yeah.
That's why it surprised me a guy like Chris Golding didn't get an opportunity in the NBA because he's such an elite level shooter, right? But Torey Craig, he came here, didn't set the world on fire. He's putting up solid numbers, 10 points, 5 rebounds, a couple of steals, blocks, whatever, right? Nothing that jumped off the page. but he was able to go and play that role and do two things really well. So for any of those players who've come here to the NBL with the hope of getting to the NBA, they can follow suit and look at the kind of journey that Torey Craig took to get there, right?
Yeah, well, this guy's going to carve out a 10-year career when he's done as well. So he's still, putting up some pretty good game against our Hawks when they played Chicago earlier this year. So
already been there nearly 10 years, hasn't he?
Well, 8 seasons now.
8 seasons, is it?
So
Yeah.
he's catching up on it there. But yeah, I thought a bit of a blast of the past for those NBL fans there, and nice to show of a guy that we sort of once watched on our shores, doing things over in the NBA. So yeah, shout out to Torey Craig.
And honestly, when Torey Craig did that, it was a long time between drinks when the last import came here and earned his right to play in the NBA. Now it's happening more, right?
Yeah.
We were seeing it happen.
Yeah,
but
he's one of the first ones, wasn't he? You saw the Sydney Kings guy, the undersized guy, Tate. You see that, and there's been a sort of.
Doug Overton back in the day, and there's others,
that's
right?
going way back, isn't it? Yeah. Nice.
Okay, cool. Look, I really wanted to have a bit of an NBA focus, right? I mean, there've been a lot of NBL games, so I thought I reached out to you before, and I said next week let's talk some NBA, Robbie, right?
Yeah.
And I thought let's kick off the show, let's change it up a little bit with some NBA talk. I know recently, man, that you showed off on your Card of the Week segment a card of Michael Cooper, right? Firstly, I want to speak about his jersey retirement, which recently occurred. It was a tough time because it was just after the LA Fires. It was the first game back, which made it a bit of an awkward evening. But a couple of things. I want to tackle that first. That might have taken a little bit of shine away from the evening. It was a difficult evening for everyone, but it was nice that the LA community did turn up anyway for him. But why has it taken so long? What's that been, 35, 40 years since he stopped playing? Can you give me a reason that it's taken so long?
It's really strange, isn't it? Given this guy last played in 1990, I don't know what did they forget about him. Maybe it's one of those things because there's so many players in that team. It just doesn't make sense, doesn't it? I wonder if there's some more than meets the eye story or something like that. But this is a guy that played his whole career with the Lakers there, Woods. And his defense was absolutely crucial in helping the team to win 5 titles while he was a Laker there. So not only that, in his time with the team, Woods, he made 8 all-defensive teams. So we talk about a guy like Torey Craig, a 3-and-D guy. Cooper was that prototypical 3-and-D sort of guy. I think Larry Bird called him the toughest defender he's ever played against. Sort of thing, Michael Cooper. He had those long arms. Also wasn't bad on offense. He was pretty athletic. They used to run those alley-oop plays to him and stuff like that. But yeah, to answer your question, I'm not quite sure why it's taken 35 years, but I think they have made a good choice there. Like helping a team win 5 titles, making 8 all defensive teams, locking up some of the big names of that era there. I think it's well deserving, and yeah, it's good to see after we talked about him so recently with that signed card.
Yeah, definitely. It was nice to see all his teammates, Byron Scott, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, amongst others, Jamal Wilkes, right? They were all there for him to support him. And also, as I said, just speak on the LA crowd. Soon after the Fires, everyone was affected. It's the first game back. It was nice to see the community still come and get behind Coop in what was a difficult time for the people of LA, right?
100%. Look, tough time. I'm sure there's more going on in people's minds than going to Clippers or Lakers games. It's good that people have got there and got some normality back and done some things they've enjoyed there. But obviously, it's going to be a massive rebuild for a lot of those communities there, and it's going to take a lot of years for it to get back anywhere near what it was before.
Yep, our thoughts go out to them once again. Also, quick story about Coop. Jerry West identified that Kobe was going to be one of the best players, ever to play the game. No one even knew much about Kobe. This guy coming out of high school, right? And Jerry West said to Coop, "Can you work this guy out? Like, just guard him, just work him out for an hour and just tell me what you think of him, right?" And apparently Kobe took him to the cleaners, and he was only 40 years old at the time, Coop, right? Because this is mid 90s, right? And he couldn't stop Kobe, and apparently the video footage has been lost, but there's video footage out there of Kobe schooling Coop, and then Coop going back to Jerry West and saying, "Yeah, man, you got to get this guy."
Do that trade for Vlade straight away.
Yeah. So I mean, those two knew before anyone else, right? So awesome to hear that story. Okay, I want to stay in the West. We were in LA, right? Let's go to Arizona now. Beginning of last season, Phoenix brought in Bradley Beal and Kevin Durant to join, about 2 years ago now, nearly. Bradley Beal at the start of last season, Kevin Durant a bit before that, to join Devin Booker to create a big three, okay? And we thought that the sun would rise in Phoenix because of it. But we saw last year it was a flawed team. We talked about it a lot. They need a proper true point guard on this team, right? Bradley Beal or Devin Booker need to play off the ball. They needed someone to bring the ball up to get them into their offensive sets, right? The other glaring hole was not having a center. So let's talk about that. They brought in Tyus Jones, who's one of the best backups in the NBA. We like him a lot. But he struggled actually transitioning into a starting role a little bit, I feel here. Correct me if I'm wrong or you think differently.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's one of those ones that he's playing with a lot of ball-dominant guys there, and he's someone that needs the ball in his hands to distribute the ball there. But I agree his shooting hasn't been great. It's like his percentage is pretty low this year. But no, fair call with that, yeah.
So who would be a prototype? An Andre Miller type? Would that be someone that you could put alongside these guys and that would work?
Maybe. I think someone like Andre Miller would work with most of the guys. But,
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got to know their role, right? Interesting. Bradley Beal Woods. Is he the only person in the world that's named Bradley that doesn't go by Brad? That's quite strange, isn't it? So,
yeah, that is strange.
It's very formal. Yeah.
The other problem, the glaring problem they had is at the center position. They've got the worst center rotation in the NBA. Yeah, other teams are feasting on him. Yusuf Nurkic is in the doghouse. I don't even know where he is at the moment. He's not even sitting on the bench, so God knows what's going on there. Yeah. They brought in Plumlee to start, right? And Iguodala, who's just a rookie or a second-year pro from Nigeria. Yeah. And recently they've traded for BDNR. Nick Richards has joined them from Charlotte for Josh Okogie, right?
Yeah.
But Nick Richards isn't the answer, really. I think Mitchell Robinson, a rim-running big that can protect the rim, might have been a better fit. But what's Nick Richards going to bring to this team? Is he going to be better than the guys I mentioned?
Yeah, I think he will. I don't mind that signing. I think he was in that two-headed monster in Charlotte with Williams. So, Williams and Richards, about the most unexciting surnames you'll get as a center combo there. So, look, he's already starting. They said that when the trade was made that he'd be starting there. So, I don't mind it. I think he's had maybe his second game. He put up some pretty good numbers there. Again, he's got to learn to play with three, ball-dominant guys. The one for me, and look, I think they have addressed that center depth there. Woods, if Nurkic can, find his way back on the team, the big, Bosnian beast will be a serviceable backup, I would have thought. I think he's still got that in him there. The big one for me is, and firstly, I should say as well, Woods, they're about 500 at the moment. They're still one of the top six teams in the West. So maybe it's no need to panic yet. But Devin Booker's the one that's been a little bit disappointing for me. Durant's been good. He always is. Bradley Beal, I kind of feel like you know what you're getting from him at this stage. He's a little bit of a disappointing player and probably not living up to his contract. But Devin Booker's one of those guys that seems to have improved every year, and just don't see that he's made that extra jump this year, and doesn't seem as interested and involved in games when I sort of flick on those Phoenix Suns games. So that's something I need to work out. But look, 500 in the West, it's not the end of the world at this stage, so they've got time to turn it around.
Not the end of the world. So you think they're going to stick it out? There's no point in breaking this up, seeing where the team goes for the rest of this year?
I'd be surprised if they made another trade. And we should say that trade deadline's is it 2 weeks away, I think, maybe from now? So it'll be interesting to sort of follow what does happen. Look, you never say never. I'm sure if they were able to get a decent offer for Bradley Beal, they would. He's got to waive that no trade clause there, which I think he probably would to go to a decent situation. I think the guy wants to win, Bradley Beal, and if it's not going to happen there, he might be inclined to going, but I'd be surprised if they made another move. I think they've got some pieces there, and they just need to get them all on the same page.
Well, if they're in relative mediocrity and just get exit in the first or second round this year, you'd really have to consider trading all those guys, right? All the big guys and restarting.
Well, maybe Booker. Maybe it's one of those guys. Look, Booker's been there the longest out of all of them. Maybe it's time to sort of reset that. You wonder if that's hurt his trade value if they're looking into something next year, but you should get a decent, package back for him, and he's maybe someone that needs that change of scene as well.
Even Durant, we can send a 36-year-old Durant to a contender and get some nice young pieces there to rebuild with as well. That's something they can think of.
I'm sure he'd be open to joining a contending team that might be able to win a championship. He's done that before.
For sure. That's for sure. Actually, Nurkic hasn't played since the 28th of December. That is a real concern, right? Nearly a month now.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. All right. Now I wanted to talk about these two guys, right? Two unheralded players who are starting for their respective ball clubs, Robbie. Okay, two Europeans. Well, let me correct that. One Belgian in Toumani Camara, right, and one half German and half Brazilian in Tristan Aravinda de Silva, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, Tristan de Silva grew up in Germany. Oh, you can tell us a little bit about Tristan de Silva. I know you've done your research on him. Let's start with him, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like, he's got that dual citizenship with Brazil and Germany. Probably lucky he wasn't lost to soccer, I would have thought, Woods, given how soccer mad both of those countries are there. But yeah, he's been a bit of a revelation. I don't think he was anyone that we sort of had, on our run sheet at the start of this season that we'd be talking about him, halfway through the season. But he's been good. Obviously, they've had a lot of injuries there in Orlando, so he's probably we've had the Wagners out, we've had Paolo out, so some of those guys that have, been out, giving him that opportunity there. But he's only 23 years of age, so I do see a solid career ahead of him. As I mentioned, he's got that dual citizenship there with Brazil and Germany, so I think he'll basically be able to take his pick of which one of those national teams he wants to play for. And I'll tell you what, whichever one he goes to, if he goes to Germany, that's another important piece on that already solid team there. So no, he has been definitely a surprise. Honestly, both of these guys you mentioned here, Woods, they're the sort of guys I expect in your next jersey order. You might buy a jersey of these guys because that's right up both of their alleys there, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And
we saw Kamara when we saw him, play against the Wolves.
We did.
And remember he came on, and we're like, who is this guy? I think we knew the name, but we're like, that was when Portland were throwing out a random team at the end of the season. And it was like Delano Banton put up 30 points in that game, and Kamara was having a decent game. But,
I'll get to Kamara in a second, right? Tristan De Silva, just some fun facts about him, right? He speaks 5 different languages, Robbie, right? He speaks German, Portuguese, Spanish, French, and English.
Yeah.
Although he's grown up most of his life in Germany, he hasn't made a decision who he wants to commit to. But yeah, he would fit on that German team.
Hey, here's a question, Woods. What do you think he likes more, beer or coffee? Brazil and Germany, right? Famous for those 2 drinks there.
I think he'd have to probably stick to the coffees more than the beers as a professional athlete. But I think maybe later in life he'd try the beers. But look. Yeah. Coach Mosley has put faith in him to start, right? He started all season in 41 games. He's playing 26.1 minutes a game, 8.6 points, 40% from the field. Nothing that jumps off, right? And he'll have 16 points one game. He'll have a goose egg the next game, 12 points the next game. So he's still got to work on that consistency, but that Magic team is doing great, and he's been starting at the 3 regularly throughout the season. So it shows that... I should
say, Woods, they're a team on a bit of a slide at the moment. I think if they lost again today, they're 3-7 in their last 10 games, and our Hawks have actually moved ahead of them, which I was pleased to see in the standings. But yeah, they need to sort of right that ship. Paolo's come back, and it hasn't quite...
Suggs, I told you how important he is.
Suggs
he's out indefinitely. Right?
Because someone like Cole Anthony, I think if we're talking deep dive on Orlando, he's good as that 6-man coming off the bench. He can get hot, score 20 points in one game, score 4 points the next. But when the ball's in his hands a lot without Suggs, he doesn't have that same two-way game that Suggs has either.
Tell you something else. Bitazde has been going through that concussion. And as good as Wendell Carter is, Bitazde was an absolute revelation for them in their starting lineup. And losing Goga and Suggs... when they got Banchero back, and obviously losing the Wagner boys has not helped them at all.
Oh, right? They can't catch a break at all, can they? I mean, hopefully they can sort of steady the ship, and especially Franz Wagner's going to be back sooner rather than later. We know how good that guy is. So yeah, they're still a solid team in the East. But yeah, De Silva, right? What a revelation so far.
Love De Silva, and I think we're going to see a lot more of him have a great career at the international and the NBA level. So let's move on to our Belgian friend, Toumani Camara. Right? I know you've watched a lot of Portland basketball this season. So, look, before we get into that, I will give Chauncey Billups some credit, okay? Because he has developed Toumani Camara very, very well. I only wish that some of that love and support and faith he has in Camara he'd shown others. But anyway, talk to me about what you've seen with Toumani.
He's got a good game, right? I like the sort of versatility. He's a good size. He's probably someone that his shooting can be a little bit inconsistent there, but he's put up some pretty big games this year. But again, consistency is the key, right? You'll see him put up, a 25-point game. The next game he might have 6 or 7. That's probably those growing pains you're going to get from a younger guy. An NBA player from Belgium, Woods. It's not something we say every day, is it? So it's great. I know we're always a fan of those international guys. You sort of
Frank Nicolatino was the last one.
He was French, wasn't he? Yeah,
no, he's French. Belgian. He played for France. He played for France, but he's born in Belgium. Yeah.
Interesting. But yeah, no, he's been decent. Hopefully Chauncey can continue to get the best out of him there. But yeah, what's your take on him, Ben?
I just really like him defensively, and I think that's why Coach Billups has just kept him, and he plays extended minutes. So let me just quickly deep dive into his stats like I did with De Silva. So Toumani Camara is playing a little bit more. He's playing 31.2 minutes a game. He started 41 games, 9.5 points, 42% from the field, 33% from the 3, 5 rebounds, 1.4 steals, and he does not mind getting in the way to take a charge, which I love. I've seen him do it on many occasions, and he's not afraid. And I think the trust and faith that Billups has put in him was built over last year. You said we watched him last year. Towards the end of last year, when Portland were just rolling out anyone, right? Toumani Camara got to play quite a lot, and that faith has rolled over into this season. He's going to have a long, illustrious NBA career.
Tell me, Woods, what's happened to our guy Matisse Thybulle for Portland? He seems like he's had like a sprained ankle or something for forever now. I have not seen that guy on the court. He's always there sort of sitting doing a bit of cheerleading and that. But yeah, we want some Matisse Thybulle action because he's that sort of guy. I think had he been healthy, he might have been a name you would have heard for this trade deadline because I think a lot of contending teams would need him. Maybe he's being a little bit wasted with his immense defensive talents on that Portland team, but maybe he's showing some little tips in practice and everything to guys like Kamara.
And also, they won't rush him back because he's going to help them win ball games.
Yeah, true.
Soon DeAndre Ayton's going to be sad, and they're all going to go into tank mode Portland, right? So
yeah, it's all about Cooper Flag. Yeah,
exactly. So maybe they're just taking their time to bring him back. But he's a veteran now, and with that young ball club and these youngsters coming through, and him having experience playing at the Olympic Games and at the international level, he's going to be able to pass on a lot of those tips to the youngsters, as he said.
For sure.
All right, now let's engage in some Hawks talk, shall we? It's been a while, right, Robbie?
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
All right, so there's two things I want to talk to you about. One, the Jalen Johnson injury. He's just come back from his injury recently over the last few games. Yeah. We didn't get a lot of feedback from the Hawks as to what was going on when he was coming back. It was a concern for a while, but to see him back on the floor in the last few games and showing signs of being back to close to full fitness has been really good to see. Right?
Yeah, well, look, his status was questionable for a few games there, which shows you probably it wasn't too bad. I think they just were being a little bit cautious there.
Yep.
We know he's had a few injuries in the past. We know he really is one of the big future parts of this part of this Hawks team. So great to see him back. It was really good to see him, showing a few things against Boston. We beat Boston again on the weekend, Woods. So I should say as well, we're recording on a little bit later this week, Wednesday, the 22nd of January. And yeah, the Hawks are 2-0 against Boston this year. They did lose their last game to the Knicks, but they've beaten Cleveland twice. They've beaten Boston twice. We'll forget those two losses to Washington, though, right?
We're 4-1, right, against Boston and Cleveland. Is that right?
I thought we were 4-0. Maybe we've played Boston 3 times. We're definitely 2-0 against Cleveland. So
yeah. Man.
But no, good to have him back. Absolutely. Love what the guy does for us this year, Woods. And look, while we're talking about important parts of that team there, DeAndre Hunter's come back as well. Look, both of those guys could be in consideration for MIP, the Most Improved Award, right? Not sure either one will get it, but they're going to be close. But I'm going to apologise to DeAndre Hunter live on this show, Woods, because he was one of those guys that I was a little bit over, right? At the start of the year, I'm like, you know what? I feel like he's been there a while. He's been a bit disappointing. He's gone up another level. He's one of those guys, every time he jacks up a three now, I'm standing there doing the three symbol because I think it's going in. He's having a great season, averaging close to 20 points a game, which I don't think many people would have seen. He's always been more of a defender than offensive player, but I think those wins correlating with him being back, JJ being back, and it's good to see the Hawks. And I think last time I looked, there may be 3 games over 500, which isn't amazing, but they're back into the top 6 now in the East, which is where we want to be.
Yep. And like Trae Young, yeah. I mean, let's talk about him and his leadership that he's shown. Right, in previous years, we loved watching him play. He was worth the price of admission, but not necessarily would he be doing all the little things that would help our ball club win games. That's really turned on its head this year, and the leadership he's shown, his decision making, has just gone to another level. How impressed are you by the evolution of Trae?
Oh yeah, I mean, look, I'm one of the bigger homers and Trae stands out there, Woods. I don't understand why he's sort of so hated. I think people don't watch the Hawks enough, and they sort of think he's this guy that just jacks up 30-foot threes the whole time and is a bit of a ball hog. But the reality is, he's the leading assist maker in the NBA, probably for this will be his 3rd season in a row doing that. He loves finding the pass. He's a great teammate. He's much improved on defense, which I don't think he's gotten enough credit about. You're talking about someone like Kamara putting his body on the line. Trae is like 1st or 2nd on the team in the Hawks for setting for charges this year, so which is great to see. But he loves the big occasion too, doesn't he? The bigger the occasion, the more his game's going to rise there. So you might not get an amazing, clutch performance against a team like Washington or something like that. But you put him against these Bostons and New Yorks and stuff on the big stage, and he's a killer. Absolutely.
I'll tell you what. The criticism in the past, maybe he forces the game a little bit, right? Rather than letting the game come to him. What I've seen this year, he's letting the game come to him.
Yeah.
He's reacting accordingly, right? And that's the big shift I've seen. And if we can get Jalen Johnson healthy, Trae Young continuing on this path, the ascension of DeAndre Hunter. We'll talk about Bogey a little bit later in the show because I'm a bit concerned
and
there.
And big one, double O, Onyeka Okongwu, Woods, he's been really good this last week or so. Both ends of the court, he runs the court really well. One thing going back to Trae there, I'd love to see him maybe just reduce his turnovers a little bit. There's a couple of times in the game I'd be like, come on, Trae, that's just a poor pass there. He doesn't have a lot of backup help at the point guard department. Kobe Buffkin was supposed to be that guy.
Keaton Wallace, man.
Now. Keaton Wallace, that guy played.
Come on, he's
scored 29 points against Chicago and then didn't get on the next game. So it shows shows you just got to be ready in the NBA, and these guys can step up. But no, I really enjoy the way we play this year. I just love looking forward to. I'm home today. The Hawks on that bugger. They're on tomorrow, but they've got a home and home. I think against Toronto Friday and Sunday. So that's a big opportunity there. Toronto's one of those teams that can pull a surprise there, but we've got to try and win those 2 games at home and just try and just get that little bit further over 500. It's better than last year, right? When we seemed to win one, lose one, literally for the whole season.
Yeah, for sure. And while we're on that, Onyeka Okongwu will be starting for the foreseeable future. I see that Clint Capella has been
I
dethroned
don't know
from the
if they've
starting
come
role.
out and said that. I know he did start in that last game against New York. Capella was pretty decent in that game too. So I don't know. I kind of look. He's hitting a couple of threes, which is huge. I saw he hit a couple in that Boston game, which that's what we need from Onyeka. As any Hawks fan would say the same. You're not going to get that from Capella. That's not going to change at this stage of his career. But yeah, I think I don't mind. I think those guys are always going to kind of split those minutes, and I like the two-headed combo with those teams. So I don't think it really matters too much who starts, but you normally find Onyeka's the one that's on the court at the end of games.
Yeah, let's see how that plays out. And just quietly, we should keep Heaton Wallace somehow, right?
100%.
He's going to be a great backup in this league. We should keep him.
Amazing hair as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So things looking promising for the Hawks, man. Really excited to see how the rest of the season plays out. So let's come back home. Let's talk some NBL, shall we? Now, we've had the game on every day, and we've almost forgotten about what round it is, what's happening, but now we're back to regular scheduling, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a break today, and games start again and whatnot, and we're getting towards the playoffs. Round 17 was the round that just passed. What did you see? What stood out for you?
It's interesting. Firstly, I can't believe each team's got literally 4 games left before the playoff starts.
Yeah.
It just feels like it's flown so far this season. So,
Yeah.
I guess the thoughts on the round. Yeah, like you said, it's a little bit hard to know what round it is at the moment. But certainly, what stood out for me in this last round, the Hawks continue to impress there. They absolutely embarrassed United at home. Did you see all the flop stuff they had against Chris Golding? He couldn't help but laugh. I did see the guy that was holding that board, with the flop thing flipping around, wearing an old school Illawarra Hawks Terry TJ Johnson jersey. So love seeing that guy wear that.
What a legend.
Going to message TJ and see if he was enjoying that one. But yeah, that was probably the big thing. Just how good that Hawks team can be, especially on their home court. Funny with the Wildcats, Woods, every time in the standings they seem to move up because teams around them are losing. So they moved up ahead of Sydney after a recent loss. They moved up ahead of Melbourne after that loss there. So this game tonight that we're going to talk about soon, Perth versus Melbourne, is huge there. You want to get in the top 2, right? There's no doubt about it. You want to get in the top 2, have a bit of a break. I know it's a little bit of a strange final series. There'll be the playing games, and I think there's a fever break for a while. So it's a good chance to get some guys healthy there. But and probably the other thing as well that... the other 2 things I'd say is the Brisbane Bullets absolutely limping to the end of the season. They lost by 31 to Cairns and then 34 to the Hawks, so combined 65-point losses there. And 2 last ones, I think Tassie looks shot now, with Jock Deng being out. It's a massive loss for them. So I'd be really shocked if they made it now. And the Phoenix, who are playing against your Kings tonight. Love the style of game they're playing. I know you're going to probably a bit of segue if you're talking about your little field trip last week, but I think they may be this season's surprise pack at the Southeast Phoenix.
Yeah, absolutely. And the change of coaches really made a difference, right? Under Mike Kelly, they were looked shot. New coach comes in and puts his fingerprints on the team, and you've seen that difference. Got the best out of guys like Nathan Serby. Anyway, I went out to Melbourne for a wedding. I was an MC at my cousin's wedding, I was telling you, and I went out to the game. There was literally 1 ticket left, right, to get. It was $110, and it was right up near the court, near courtside, which was terrific seats. It was in the State Basketball Center in a place called Wanturna, which you'd think that there's no way there's a basketball stadium here. It reminded me a little bit of Fred Caterson, Castle Hill, when you're walking through and all these bushes.
How far out
and
of the city is that place in Woods for people?
It's really far out. It's like an hour out of the city, right? 45 minutes to an hour out of the city. It's in the heartland. Anyway, 4,000 seat stadium, really good atmosphere. They did a really good job. New Zealand played with a lot of heart. But yeah, you could just see that Southeast Melbourne team were buoyed by the home crowd. They can see that the playoffs are in sight now. They've put in all this hard work. They want to make sure that they don't do anything wrong in the last few games of the season and make sure all the hard work they've done since the coaching change doesn't go to waste, right? So, yeah.
Mate, if they beat Sydney tonight, they could be focusing on that top 4 spot, right? They really could, and getting that extra sort of home game, I guess, for the play-in there. And that's, I think, like I said, it's a big game for the Wildcats in Melbourne. It's an equally big game for Sydney and South East tonight. But I wanted to ask you quickly, was in that game being so close to the court as well? What was the Taco Fall experiment like? How did he sort of seem live in game action?
He didn't look happy. He looked very unhappy, like almost like he didn't want to be there. And hey, let me give a shout out to, before I do that, let me just give a shout out to the kid Archie. Archie, if you're listening, you were sitting in front of me. Such a knowledgeable crowd, including Archie. He knew all about the game, around the league, the NBA. He was so knowledgeable. We often say that the Sydney crowd doesn't know much about basketball, right? They're very like...
we always say, not often.
We always say that. Well, Archie knew a lot about the game. I said, Archie, send in something, a question or something into the show, and I'll shoot you a gift of some sort. So, Archie, thanks for listening to the podcast, and good sitting next to you. Anyway, we were both talking about Taco Fall and how... he didn't look that happy. The people around me were talking to me about it. He looked like he didn't want to be there. So I just felt that everything slowed down when he was on the floor. When he came off the floor and, they went with Bolden playing that hybrid sort of role, the team looked like it was functioning a lot better. As soon as we talked about it, Freddie Gillespie going, completely different prototype to Taco Fall.
Against like 2 seasons for New Zealand, hasn't it? It's been a funny one there for him.
Against some teams, you could get away with the Taco Fall, but then you've got a Matt Hurt and, these guys, taller guys who can stretch the floor. It's hard to match up a Taco Fall against someone like a Matt Hurt, for example, right?
Yeah, he's been really impressive, hasn't he?
Yeah, he was really impressive live as well in person, man.
Yeah.
So, no, really good experience. Yeah.
Nice.
All right, shall we do a bit of a preview of the round that's to follow? So we might just say there's a double header on tonight, right,
yeah,
Robbie?
So by the time this comes out tomorrow, these 2 games would have been one and done there. So I guess hopefully, well, for your sake, you're hoping the Kings get the win. I'm hoping Perth get the win. But yeah, it's going to be a late night, a bit of one of those 9:30 Perth start games for the Eastern States. It's going to be a bit of a late finish on a school night as such. But yeah, looking forward to it though.
Yep, definitely. So let's go through the next round. Starts tomorrow. We've got Cairns and Illawarra. Now, Cairns, Adam Ford has come out and said that his starters are all selfish, etc. You've seen that come out in the media recently?
I haven't read that recently, but interesting. So based on that, I'm going to say Illawarra by 20.
Yeah, okay. I wouldn't disagree with you there. Now, Brisbane, basically the walking wounded, as you mentioned a moment ago. The New Zealand Breakers, even though they lost their SEN, they showed some fight and spirit. They're playing at home. I would say that, and they've got a chance to actually take over Brisbane here at the end of the season with a couple of positive results. So I'm going to go New Zealand in that one.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one, yeah.
Sydney and Adelaide on Friday. I'll be going out to that game, actually, at Kudos Bank Arena. Who you got?
Oh, so that'll be a good one to go to, won't it? Phew, I mean, that's a tough one there. What about DJ Vasiljevic in that game last week, hitting 7 threes in the first quarter, which was pretty crazy there. I mean, when I saw that, I thought he's on track for 14 or 15 at this rate. But as always happens, the defense just shifts and they massively focus on you there. But he'll be wanting to have a big game against his old team, as will Jarrell Martin. It's a tough one there. I'm going to say Adelaide win a really tight one there.
Okay, well, if they do, that'll really help them in their push to take over Tasmania for that final spot. Now, Southeast Melbourne, Tasmania. Okay, I think I know what you're going to say here.
There's a lot riding on this one, isn't there? Yeah, I've got to say Southeast playing at home there. Look, Tasmania, it's not to say they can come in and pull an upset. We were speaking offline saying Milton Doyle just hasn't got it going this season, right? But he's the sort of player that could maybe step up for this last month of the season and put up some big numbers. So wouldn't rule him out, but yeah, I think if Southeast win, it's going to be a really uphill battle for the Jackies.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed that's at the State Basketball Centre as well in Montana, the place that I just went to. So if anyone, there's only a few games out there every year, so if anyone in Melbourne, get out there. They actually even sell goat beer, the sponsors of Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, for $8. So get out there, and it's a good day out. Okay, Saturday we got Perth versus Cairns.
A random Perth home game on a Saturday night. You don't really see many of them in the season. Look, traditionally Perth and especially Bryce Cotton play quite well against Cairns there. So, yeah, it's hard to think Cairns are going to do too much at this stage. So I think Perth should get the W there. Hopefully Dylan Windler's all right after that eye injury he took last week. And I saw a photo that our boy Stu sent us. He didn't look too well there, but hopefully he's back because the Wildcats need him firing.
Yeah, he's out tonight, isn't he?
Yeah, I believe he would.
Yeah, he is out tonight. Yep.
Yeah, some Justin Withers time.
Todd Withers. Okay,
Todd
Brisbane.
Withers. Who's Justin Withers? He's played for Illawarra, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Nice. Sure,
yeah, Brisbane versus Melbourne.
Gotta
Come
say
on.
Melbourne, right? I don't think I'm going to be picking Brisbane too much the rest of this season, really.
Yep. And then Adelaide at home to New Zealand.
Yeah, it's one that Adelaide probably want to be careful with. They do have a pretty good home record, so I'd say they'll get that. So look, if my tips are right and they go 2-0 this weekend, Adelaide, that's a big sort of couple of games for them, right?
Yep.
Todd Withers.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. So I've got some NBA true or false today, right? And then I hear there's a bit of a change in usual programming
to the test
today.
in classic packs. That's right. Yeah.
All right. So let me just jump through a quick few NBA true or falses for you and get your thoughts, right? Ivica Zubac will be an all-star this season.
Well, firstly, Woods, as you'll recall, because you were sitting alongside me, that was the jersey I wore to my first ever NBA game. So I would love to say true on this one. I think he's a good chance. I just think there are a lot of good bigs in the West. I think guys like Joker, Davis, Wemby, Sabonis, and Şengün there. I think he'll be close, and I feel the coaches will pick one Clipper. So either him or Norman Powell. So that's a pretty long-winded answer that I will say false that he makes it, unfortunately.
So you don't think Harden's in with a chance to be picked?
I think you picked those two after him. Over him, I would have thought.
I know, but voters might just go to Harden.
There's a chance, but look, I don't think that. I think if you had to rank them in order, I'd say probably at this stage you'd say Powell, Zoo, and then Harden. That's my gut feel.
Yeah, I'd love to see Powell in there, but I just don't think he will. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Larry Bird has the most 50, 40, 90 seasons in NBA history. True or false?
You told me I wasn't allowed to do any research on this one, so I haven't. So, look, I'm sure Steph Curry's had a couple there, but look, I'd say true. It has to be him, right?
False.
Who is it then?
Steve Nash. 4.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I didn't
4.
Do a deep
2
dive.
for Durant. I think 2 for Curry. I think maybe 3 for Bird from memory. Right? I think Malcolm Brogdon is the random one who's done it on that list as well.
Interesting.
Yeah. So Reggie Miller's done it once as well.
Yeah.
Okay, we're on Washed Watch now. Okay, Washed Watch. Okay. First one, Mike Conley is washed.
True. Yeah, I haven't liked what I've seen from him from about the last season or so. They need someone that's going to come and maybe take some of those minutes away from him. He's still like his veteran presence on the team. He's a good teammate and seems like a good guy. But yeah, I think it's in terms of what he's going to contribute on the court. Yeah, I'd agree he's washed.
Yeah, so now we've got Dante DiVincenzo out indefinitely, who's actually stepped up and playing some point guard, and Conley's coming off the bench. Is it time for Dillingham, the rookie, to get an opportunity to play some minutes?
Yeah,
right?
Why not?
Yep, and that's it. Are we going to see Mike Conley in the NBA next season?
Is that an extension of true and false? I'll say true, we will see him. I think, if guys like Joe Ingles can still be on a bench this year, why not keep someone like Conley there as a break glass and emergency type point guard?
And the one that I'm really concerned about, Bogdanovic in Atlanta, our boy.
Definitely a false if you're asking me if Bogey's washed. Look, he had a great season, especially towards the end of last season there. I think maybe his legs are a bit tired. He plays a lot of international basketball there for Serbia, so maybe love from a Hawks point of view, selfishly, that he maybe sits out the next time they have games there. I don't think so. He needs to get healthy.
I think he's unplayable at the moment.
Yeah,
you just can't put him on the court.
Yeah, that's right. He's always got something, and especially like his defense, they're constantly doing offensive defenses, substitutions for him and Dyson at the end of games and that there. But no, I don't think he's washed. I could see him, bounce back, and if the Hawks can make it there, help us perhaps win a playoff series. So no, I'm still got faith in Bogey.
Get him healthy for the playoffs. That's what I say.
Right.
Even if it means sitting him out for extended time to get him back to 100%. Right? We've got other guys here stepping up now. Right? We got JJ back, so there's guys who can fill in. Right?
For sure. Yeah.
All right, my man. Before we end things, over to you.
So I think this might be the first time I've actually done this. So I know you gave me this pack a while ago. So it's a Topps 94-95 pack. I did have a pack of Skybox as well. Just thought, what, I'm going to do the Topps one. So so these ones here. So every card foil stamped. I think they might have had like the gold sort of edition in that. So yeah, that's what the pack looks like there. Should say as well, Woods, I ordered something from an eBay store, an NBL card this week, and they sent me 2 free NBL packs, which was cool. So Emily and I opened those up at lunchtime today. Didn't get anything amazing in there, but it was still fun to do so. But let me open this one. I haven't done this for a while, Woods. It's normally your alley, ripping these foil packs open.
It must be said that this pack has not been open for 30 years.
No, it's crazy. When you just look at it and see 94-95, and we're in the 2024-25 season, I wonder if I'll need that. Managed to get it open without the scissors. So looking forward to go through this one with you, Woods, and see who we get. Hopefully my clues will be decent. Bit of a random first one. We're talking a big white guy for Washington that also shared his name with a famous singer, if that helps you there. So, big guy there. I know numbers aren't really your thing there, but he was got a couple of seasons with the Washington Wizards there. 6'10", kind of power forward out of UCLA. But the big clue there, sharing his name with a famous, I think, country singer. I would have thought there.
No.
No. All right. So we got Don McLean.
Ah, damn.
Yeah, it's a bit of a blast.
I know Don McLean as well.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, you like a bit of Don McLean.
I know Don McLean, the basketball player as well.
Oh, nice. Well, we got Hawk for our second card there. So this is a good one. So look, a big guy that played for the Hawks in this era there, 6'11" centre. I believe he's on the coaching staff.
Tree Rollins?
No, maybe not. Who'd you say?
Tree Rollins?
No, not the big tree. No, it's like a lot younger sort of guy than that. But a guy that played with a few teams. Was on the Phoenix Suns and 76ers before he came to the Hawks. It says on the back he worked in a timeshare arrangement with good old John Contract there as the Hawks pivot tandem. So very much a defensive player. You weren't getting a lot of stuff offensively from him, but certainly an assistant coach now that you probably see from time to time. Wore a random number 28 as well. So he
No? I got no idea, man.
All right, Andrew Lang. So Phoenix and Philly being the clues there. All right. But you can see that we're going to downgrade a little bit in this game with Woods doing it today, I can tell. But hey, it's all about the fun, right?
Of course it is.
I can't believe who I've pulled next, right? So it's an All-Star card, which is pretty cool. So it's an NBA Western Conference All-Star card. It's not Scottie Pippen. Who else would I hate to pull a card of that made an All-Star game?
Danny Manning.
Danny Manning. So can you believe that? Danny Manning.
That's his only one All-Star game, wasn't it?
Wearing a ridiculous outfit on the back there before he went to Atlanta and stole money.
He might have made
from
two
them,
All-Star games, actually.
Yeah, so Danny Manning. What's the chances of me pulling his card in there, right? So all I need now is a John Conker or a
Danny
Scottie
Manning.
Pippen. Wow, this next card is a random card. I'm not sure if this is an insert or not. No, it's a rebound hound card, which is pretty cool. Really random looking card. When you think of one of the best rebounders in the 90s, Woods, who's the first name that probably comes to mind?
Dennis Rodman, Charles Barkley.
Dennis Rodman it is. So this is his card with the Spurs there. He's wearing a random little face mask there, wearing that number 10 for the Spurs there. So it's basically saying, it's talking about some of the greatest rebounders. Who did you say? You said Barkley. Who else? Give me another.
Great rebounders at that time. Moses Malone.
Karl
Karl Malone.
Karl Malone's surprisingly not. A great of the Hawks. It was always a great rebounder who you and I both love. Who played till he was 100
Kevin
years
Willis.
old. Kevin Willis. I also read the rest. So the other 10 on this list, I've got Dikembe, rest in peace. Officer Alden Polonese, which is good to see. Hopefully he's not pulling people over on the freeway. Shaq, of course. Charles Oakley, Sean Kemp, Big Buck Williams, and another guy we mentioned his name earlier, Vlade Divac. All right, so that's an interesting one there, isn't it?
You know what I was thinking, right? It was only when Dennis Rodman arrived in San Antonio that he started changing his hair colors. He wasn't doing it in Detroit. It only started in San Antonio when he came one day with the orange hair, right? We know that. Yeah. And when I see Jeremy Sohan now, it takes me back to that time, right?
Yeah.
So
True.
Something to think about, right? Yeah.
True. All right, the next guy is a guy who I've always wanted to get his jersey, actually. He's got a very unique surname, a big sort of undersized power forward that played with Philadelphia over the years in the 90s there. So he's got a cool nickname, which is a shortened version of his surname there. He's got a very almost white-sounding surname, but he's a black guy there. Remember him playing some time with the Knicks later on in his career as well. But someone who I know you would have liked going back then.
Give me something else. Where did he go to college?
I mean, colleges and numbers don't help. So Southern Mississippi, he was 6'7", 240. So as I said, a really big guy, size-wise, not the tallest sort of guy you'd find. But first name's Clarence.
Oh, Weatherspoon.
Weatherspoon, yeah.
Yeah,
good old
sick.
Weatherspoon.
Love Weatherspoon.
Wearing that classic Philly jersey there, number 35. So he was great, wasn't he? He was a big boy. He was a little bit undersized in height, but geez, he'd make up for it.
I found the most beautiful Clarence Weatherspoon hardwood classic jersey, and I ordered it online for like $300, and it never arrived. And I had to go to PayPal and create a something to get a refund. So I got the
That's one of
refund
those
back.
ones
I
we
didn't
like,
get the
'cause
jersey.
it's a random surname too, right? Like Weatherspoon. It's not
I
gonna
didn't
be-
want my money back, man. I wanted the
Yeah,
jersey.
you wanted the jersey.
right?
You wanted the jersey. Well, next up we've got another Spurs player. Someone I love, Wood. So I've worn his jersey on a show before.
Antonio Daniels.
No, that's a good one. But no, another Spurs guy who I wore this jersey. I actually wore it on the Andrew Gaze episode. So a guy
Sean Elliott.
Sean Elliott. So you still hear him commentating on the Spurs home games. Very biased, as you'd expect there. But
Love Sean
it's
Elliott.
a nice card of him there. And of course, he was later on traded to Detroit. Had the kidney transplant. Yeah, he had that All-Star game in '93 as well. So love the way he played. Of course, he hit that massive sideline shot that sort of famous in Spurs history.
Jay-Z told
there.
us all about it.
Yeah. So yeah, a bit of Sean Elliott. I like that card. It's a good one there. So I'm enjoying this part, Woods. It's actually good to see who's coming up next. Wow. The next guy, we just mentioned him on that list of rebounders there. Feel like this is a guy we've pulled a few of his cards in the past as well there, Woods. So it's a big rebounder. Had some time with the Nets back in the day, I'm going to say, and also with Portland.
Kevin Duckworth.
No, big bruising guy. So
Buck Williams.
6'8" guy, Buck Williams. Yeah,
Yep.
so veteran of the league. Yeah, long-term New Jersey net player back in the day, and then Trailblazers.
Of course, Nets. Buck Williams.
Yeah. He was pretty solid. Like, he was a pretty good scorer. So he had a couple of seasons around 18 a game. We know he was a big time rebounder there.
Buck and Duck.
So there's a quote from ex-NBA coach Doug Collins that says, "In terms of consistency and mental toughness, Williams has no peer." It's kind of a big call.
Think about that starting
Buck
lineup,
Williams.
right? That bench wasn't too strong, but you talk Terry Porter, at the point guard. You got Clyde Drexler at the 2. You got Clifford Robinson, and you got Buck and Duck.
Yeah, it's not bad, is it?
That's a pretty good team, right?
Now, Woods, tell me, in the time of doing this classic packs, have we ever had a duplicate in the pack of the same one we've already pulled? I don't think we've had that.
Yeah, in the NBL packs we did.
NBL we have, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to work out if there's any difference. I don't think so. But anyway, we got another Clarence Weatherspoon randomly there. So I don't know if there's any difference between these two. It doesn't look like it. I can't see any gold sort of embossed sort of stuff. It looks like the same card, right? Is the Tops logo slightly different? I don't know.
I think so.
Anyway, that's a bit disappointing to get two of the same card.
You'll have to give me one.
Yeah, definitely. One of them almost looks like it's got a bit more of a hologram there. I don't think so, though. So that's a bit unfortunate. All right, the next one there is a former coach of the Atlanta Hawks, someone that some people say that Trey ran out of town there. This is his Seattle Sonics card, a guy that was
Nate
known for his
McMillan.
defense. Good old Nate McMillan. So really good defender there. 6'5", 200. Wow, he seems like he'd be more than 200. He was a big boy, wasn't he, there, Woods? Really tenacious defender there. So, yeah, Nate McMillan. Look, a decent sort of point guard at that time, right? He didn't sort of set the world on fire there, but, a solid player. He was a second-round draft selection that ended up having a pretty good career there. So, Nate McMillan, I'm sure he's an assistant now.
What year is that? 94, 95?
So he's in 94, 95.
Yeah, so Drexler would have been in Portland by that time.
Yeah, maybe. Tell you what, it's definitely the logo of this.
Drexler would have been in Houston, sorry.
In Houston, okay.
Yeah.
The logo of one of these Clarence Weatherspoon cards is shining more than the other would, so I'm sure there must be something. I'll do a bit of research after, but geez, there's not a lot of difference there, but it might be like a refractor type card or something like that, so maybe we can forgive him. It's not a complete double there. All right, 3 to go. This is a guy that was pretty well known for playing for the Knicks. He was a guy out of North Carolina who I believe is actually coaching in NCAA now. He was a 6'5", 2 guard. Played around that time as a replacement for John Starks when Starks was getting injured. Very good shooter, known as a really good shooter there. What else have we got?
Charlie Ward?
No, so more of a shooter, not like a point guard like Charlie Ward, but the North Carolina should be the big clue there. So he's famous for that. I think he might even be coaching in North Carolina. I could be mistaken. I'm not a college man there, but got an interesting first name. You don't see that name coming up very often.
Having a blank.
No, so a bit of Hubert Davis.
Oh, shit.
Hubert Davis. And to top it off, on our second last card, guess what? We've got another repeat card. So we've got 2 Hubert Davises and 2 Clarence Weatherspoon. What's going on with the quality control here at Tops in the 90s, right? So, and they definitely look identical, those cards. So there's
He's still the head coach at North Carolina.
He's still, yeah, which is a pretty big gig to have. I'm liking that one, Woods. Look who's coming towards him on that layup there. There could be a bit of no about to happen there. So I wonder if Dikembe got that one. It'd be good to know if he got it. So Well, one more to go. We got Sean Elliott, one of my favourites. We actually got another one of my favourites to finish it off. So, a guy that played with a few teams. This is his Detroit Pistons card. He was a second-year player at the time there. He was a point guard out of a pretty random college in Jackson State. Also played with the Lakers. Went on to sort of coach. Didn't have the greatest success as a coach, but a guy that I always liked. I'm sure I've worn his jersey.
Lindsey Hunter.
Lindsey Hunter, yep. It's the last card there. So a second-year card, Lindsey Hunter there. So, look, great defensive player, wasn't he, Woods? He came out. He was a 10th overall selection in that draft. I think they drafted Allen Houston as well. They had 2 top 10 picks. They got Allen Houston and Lindsey Hunter. So, yeah, Lindsey Hunter to round it out. So, it's an
Chauncey
okay
Billups
pack.
back up on that 2004 team as well. Let's not
Yeah,
forget.
right, the veteran that was there, right?
Yeah.
So just to repeat, so Don McLean, not the singer, the player. We had Andrew Lang, a Danny Manning All-Star card, which is just ridiculous. We got that. This cool Dennis Rodman rebound hound. I quite like pulling that one. Sean Elliott, which I'm loving. Buck Williams, Nate McMillan, Lindsey Hunter, and then we had 2 Hubert Davis and 2 Clarence Weatherspoon. So that's my first go of doing the classic packs. That was fun.
Nice,
We've got a
well
few
done.
cards. Few packs arrived today, so we're back to our regular rotation of me guessing the clues very soon, right?
Oh, you did a great job, man, but I think it works
thanks.
better that way because you're better at
Yeah.
guessing.
Especially because you can mention random colleges and numbers, and I'm probably going to somehow pull that out of something.
All right. So we've gone a little bit over today, so sorry guys, but a lot to get through. Robbie, do you just want to take the audience away with where we can be found and all of that?
Yep. So yeah, really appreciate everyone tuning in, I should say. Please make sure you continue to rate, like, and subscribe on YouTube. Leave us a comment. Those sort of things help out all the algorithms and those sort of things. Even where you listen to your podcast, you can do that as well. We can be followed on X at Throwback Hoops. Look for Woods to post some jersey pics and this card of the week of Torey Craig, which is a nice one there. Instagram throwback.hoops, and our email address is throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. Also Patreon, as we mentioned every week. Feel free to log on to Patreon, search Throwback Hoops, and if you want to contribute a couple of dollars to help us out, there's still a lot of costs. We're not getting a cent for doing this each week, so still a lot of costs with the production and all that stuff we're doing it. But yeah, anything would be appreciated.
Yeah, thanks, Robbie. And once again, shout out to you, Archie. Thanks for the company at the game last few days ago. And yeah, send in something to the show, any requests you have, and Robbie and I will try and get to them as soon as possible.
Woods, can I say before we finish off, we've got a special guest next week.
Yep.
I don't want to brag about this guest, but it's a special guest. But I'm not going to brag about it at all, right? But we do have a special guest next week, so please tune in and enjoy the show next week.
Yep, Robbie's not going to brag at all. So until next week, from Robbie and I and the whole team at Throwback Hoops, it's peace out.